Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and I'm here to talk to you about a Leeds United based sponsor on the channel, teamwallart.com. The link is in the description. Worldwide shipping, and it's unbelievable, guys. As I've told you before, this is the sort of stuff that you can get from these guys. My favourites on the end here, accused of everything, guilty of nothing since 1919. You can get this one for $5.99 if you buy another one for $7.99, and I did that. I've got the one of Marcelo Bielsa here, a beautiful image, really good quality as well, by the way, and of course the title winning boys. Some really good stuff on there, guys. As I said, the link is in the description. I went to these guys. I love this sort of stuff, and they are Leeds United fans. Go check it out. Enjoy the video. One Leeds is now sponsored by OneFootball. OneFootball is a really classy app. You can get all of your Leeds United updates on this app. You can get all the transfer news, injury news, match day news, and it really is top quality. The most downloaded app regarding football on the site. So make sure you go check it out. The link is in the description, and I hope you enjoy the video, guys. I thought today it'd be good to do a tier list. We're sort of midway through the season now. I think first half we've just not played Southampton. Obviously, we had that result of the weekend, which I didn't expect really, but it happens, doesn't it, in the Premier League? Right, okay. Is there any way you want to start? What player do you want to start? We've got a tier system. So in the tier system, it's sort of 5 stages. We've got poor, below average, average, good, and class in the Premier League. So, should we start at the back, or do you want to start with anyone in particular?
What you want to like? No, you lay them up, and I'll go off.
Right. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start originally with. We'll start with Meslier. We'll start from the back. So in those 5 tiers, Rob, where would you put him so far this season?
He's got to be in the top tier. He's got to be for this. I think he's been unbelievable. Like, he's been one of our best players. The amount of points he's saved us and essentially won us this season. And if you look in terms of the amount of upgrade in that position we've made from, I'm sure we'll get to Kiko at some point. I think he might be at a little bit of a different point on the spectrum. But I think just in terms of the impact he's had, the fact that he's solved our problems at corners largely. You know, he's through coming and claiming everything now. The impact he's had as a young player to come in, I think, has been so far above what we could have realistically expected from him. I think I can't say enough good things about Meslier.
But yeah, to play devil's advocate, obviously we know that there's been a couple of mistakes. I'll be honest, Rob, I don't think his distribution's on point yet. But like you say, he is a young goalkeeper. And, you know, I mean, I still think he's produced the save of the season at Sheffield United when John Lundstrom was through.
Exactly.
So I think he's making mistakes, but he's not making mistakes. But
he's not making like Kiko's type mistakes, though, is he?
Exactly. He's not making. It's not ridiculous mistakes. It's maybe a goal kick that's going out of play. He's not making those mistakes, and he's been forced to play that way by Bielsa. And I think he's been inhibited massively as well by not having an experienced keeper behind him who can sort of coax him through the Premier League.
I personally would sneak him in the top tier, but I think it's between those two that you got to choose from. God, do you want to be the bad man already on the first guy? I'm gonna make you the villain in this video, definitely.
It's my mindset, isn't it? Okay, right. I'll give you this one. We'll put him in class. Okay, so he stays in class, right? So we've started strongly.
I know we've got nowhere to go from here.
It only goes down, right? So number 2, the number 2. Some may describe him as a number 2.
Very apt.
Kiko Costa, obviously, he's not had a lot of game time.
No, but he's still managed to be crap, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Rob, at the weekend,
it was fine. But that's the thing, though, isn't it? For a goalkeeper we signed from Real Madrid who we're paying that much, right? Like, to have a fine game against Brighton, it isn't. You know, that's not what we're hoping for. It's a completely different. And I know that's harsh when I'm saying Meslier is over, like it's to do with expectations. Sometimes it is, though, and you know sometimes that's how your opinions go. And you know, the Crawley game was peak Kiko, wasn't it? It was just absolute peak Kiko. And like, look, I don't think we weren't good all over the pitch in that game. We were poor. And like, you know, if we'd lost that game 1-0, probably fair enough. But the 3-0 scoreline, that's on Kiko. Like, 2 of them just went through him. Like, it was you know.
Well, I've started calling him a Spanish hologram because just everything.
He is, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like the Matrix glitches, doesn't it? And then just the ball's in the net.
But for all you Kiko supporters out there, which there still are so many of them, which baffles me. But football is subjective.
It's a game of opinions.
It is. We've actually got the bottom tier, mate. As I didn't realise, I just had a quick look. The bottom tier it's not called Paul. It's Paul Rachubka. So are we putting him in? Are we putting him in the Paul Rachubka?
I mean, that is harsh even on Kiko. We've got to say...
It's harsh on Paul, to be honest.
I mean, Paul Rachubka is in his own tier of Leeds United goalkeepers. I mean, I was at that Blackpool game, stood behind him in the cup. Let's not get into that. But yeah, I think he's got to be, to be honest with you. I think it's kind of best for all concerned. Like, did you see that Phil Hay article was talking about, like, you know, it doesn't look like there's a way back for Kiko, really. And as much as Bielsa supports him and clearly, like, he values him as a person, cool. But as a goalkeeper, he worries you. And, like, if you look at the way our defence plays with him, they don't trust him like Meslier. They don't pass in the same way as they will with Meslier. Like, they'll always look for Meslier as an out ball. With Kiko, a couple of times we just hide it in the stands. And with Bielsa ball, you can't do that. It collapses the system if there's not that trust in every player. They all need to be a unit working together. And I feel like Kiko hampers that personally. He's on massive wages. He's been a failure. Like, it's the amount of money we're paying him as well. It's so much. He's one of our top earners.
Alioski, right. Okay. This is going to be difficult.
Oh, this one's going to get spicy.
This is going to be difficult for me. Yeah. I like him.
That's such a marker of what's going to come, mate. That's like when I describe a comedian as being a really good guy. That means they're terrible on stage.
You know, he's good. I think he's a good utility player in the Premier League. No chance is he a starter. And I think this season he's been great with space against sort of West Bromwich Albion, Burnley, and he's overperformed. I think when the pressure's put on him. You know, we saw it against Leicester. I think he was in at Palace as well when they were pressing a little bit high in the second half. Obviously, we saw it at the weekend. I think he is below average when it comes to being able to cope with that. But he's grown with Bielsa. He's got so much better with Bielsa. But I mean, in the summer, Rob, I'm thinking left back's probably one of the primary places I'd go and get someone, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it's an area we can strengthen, definitely. But like, we've got to remember also, like, Alioski's basically our cover there. Like, Dallas is first choice left back at the moment. And, you know, Alioski is our reserve. And for a Premier League reserve left back who we brought in as a winger, I think he's done really well. We don't want him starting every game, obviously. That's not what he's there for. As a sub to come on against tired legs and stretch, we've seen the influence he can have on games. We can do that. He will deliver 1 or 2 crosses a game that are just picture perfect. It'll be out of 20, but 1 or 2 of them will be absolutely pinpoint. I think, like, the issues he's had is his defensive positioning can be suspect, can't it? Like, I really saw it a couple of times against Brighton. He just gets sucked towards the ball or something and leave a huge area of space that we'd get torn into.
I think if we played for 3 at the back and he was a left wing back, he'd be class in that role.
This is it. And when we've played like that with him a bit further forward, he has been class, you know, and he has great games. Like you say, like, he was man of the match against West Brom. And in those games against the lower half of the table, then great, because he's such a dynamic attacking option. He does leave us more vulnerable, you know, not that, you know, and we are a vulnerable team as it is. So yeah, I see that. I absolutely love Gianni Alioski. I think he's he's great value to have at the club, and he's done brilliantly and worked so hard. And like, I don't think any of us thought he'd be anywhere near the level he's performing at the moment. So I think overall, I think he's done really, really well. But yeah, I think you're right in that a left back would be a nice upgrade and have Dallas be the first choice replacement or playing elsewhere. You know, it's more of the utility man. So yeah, I agree that a left back's a priority.
Do we stick him in average?
I think average, yeah. I would be loath to put him lower than that because he's had some really, really good performances.
Yeah, he's not lower than that, is he?
No, and he's not let anyone down by a long stretch. You know, he's performed above his level, I think, if anything. So yeah, I think that's more than fair average tier.
All right, we'll stick him in average. Helder Costa.
Oh, no. See, it's like Helder Costa. We are gonna like we're getting the negative ones out of the way early. At least he's not performed to the level we'd hoped. Clearly, he's not quite made the step up. It's really disappointing because I think we saw a lot like in last season. Like we saw how good he can be.
But are you a little bit miffed, mate, that Rafinha cost 1 million more than him, and we've seen Rafinha and how unbelievable he is. I mean, I guess that's not his fault, but
it does make you look worse, though, doesn't it? It's not his fault, but it doesn't help.
But with Bamford, we've seen Bamford fight off Nketiah, the JKA thing. We've seen him fight off Roof as well. Rodrigo, another one. He seems to thrive on competition. I don't want to focus this on Bamford too much, but why is Helder Costa not doing that when Rafinha's coming into the squad? What's going on there?
I just don't know. Like, people are human, aren't they? All have different personalities, and like, Bamford
should be doing more. Is my question. Do you think he should be doing more?
You would hope for you would hope obviously that he would be producing more, certainly. And if he wants to nail down a place in the starting lineup, he has to. We're in the Premier League now. There's no room for passengers. There's no room for someone to not be performing,
especially in Bielsa's system.
This is it. It's like we say, it's so finely tuned, and everyone needs to be at 100%. So, yeah, I don't think he's quite made the step up, and I think unfortunately we're seeing probably why Wolves were willing to let him go, and I don't quite know what it is. I mean, like, he's not that physically strong, so he sometimes gets bullied a little bit. He just struggles to make that.
He's not direct enough either. He doesn't take.
Yeah, this is it. He sometimes just doesn't quite back himself as well. And so, yeah, I think he has been a little disappointing this season, to be honest. I was hoping for a bit more. And like right at the start of the season, he looked like he was going to be great. Do you remember how good he was in the Liverpool game?
And
like,
Fulham. And Fulham.
Yeah, so this is it. So he's had good games, and this is why it's frustrating with Helder Costa, because we know he's a good footballer. It's not that he's terrible and way out of his depth and can't handle it. It's just not quite happening for him.
You want to stick him in below average?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, you can't have a Paul Rehub because he has had good games, which Paul never did, bless him.
And that's why he's there. Liam Cooper. I think Liam's been in and out, hasn't he? But
yeah, really injury hit this season.
He always is, isn't he? He's always been a crock, Liam. But he always, I think, when he comes in, he's put some good performances in, and I think the contrast was, I know it sounds daft, but when he went out of that Crawley game, and it just went tits up.
There was no leadership anymore. There was no structure to it, and I think that sort of element of his game is much overlooked by people. Sometimes they forget how much of a presence he is in that team and how respected he is. He is a proper leader, and technically much better than people give him credit for. Like, his passing's very good and his positioning is good.
He's a scapegoat a lot as well, I think.
Yeah, because it's easy to, because we got him from Chesterfield and people call him League One Liam, and he did have some struggles in the past, but people sort of form their opinion often about a footballer and leave it concrete. And if any team in the world should know that players can improve and get better, it's us.
Do we stick him in? We will stick him in good season, yeah?
Yeah, he's had a good. Yeah, good. It's not been spectacular because he's not had the chance to, but good. No.
Okay. I was going to. I literally went Cafu then, but I mean Dallas.
Slightly better than Cafu. Like, what? I don't. I run out sometimes of good things to say about Stuart Dallas. How do you say it anymore? Like, he's been spectacular again, hasn't he? He just unruffled, playing exactly the same way, doing exactly the same things against a higher standard of opposition. He is a miracle of a footballer. 2 years ago, even when Bielsa was first coming in, I was like, Dallas had come on, I'd be like, oh.
Yeah,
you would, because but his work rate and his application and how much he has clearly studied the game and learned this role so much, and we've seen how much worse we look without him at left back, because he had so much going forward as well from left back. He really because he drifts inside and supports the midfield. It's just been great, hasn't he? Just solid, constantly solid wherever we need him.
Yeah, I think he'd be a better backup keeper than Kiko, to be honest. I think he could play anywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. His versatility, and people talk about James Milner and stuff. I mean, at the minute, I'd rather have Stuart Dallas. I think.
You would. I wouldn't swap Stuart Dallas for anyone. Top tier.
Bins.
What more can you ask from Stuart Dallas? It's one of those when he gets to the point where what else could he do? You know,
no, you're right. You're right. Right, we'll go top bins. He joins Melier in there. Next one, Jack Harrison.
Go on, you start.
Okay. God, his stats are going to come back, and you know people always stick his stats in, which is fair play.
Yeah, you can prove anything with facts, though, can't you?
Yeah, you can. Yes, football's a subjective game until you see XG. But yeah, no, I think with Jack Harrison, I'm just always a little bit frustrated just because of his output, because I know the talent he is like, and I know the level he can get to. I still see Rafinha as levels above Jack Harrison. They're the same age, really, aren't they? And I think sometimes it's the balls in, sometimes it's just a little bit of concentration. You know, against Brighton at the weekend, I thought, you know, for example, in that, we only had really 1 or 2 chances. He gets in that area, he's just got to hit the target. And I think sometimes he's just a little bit frustrating, but I also understand that defensively he's unbelievable on that left. Going forward, there's a reason Bielsa picks him week in, week out. And I do really rate Harrison. I know there's a ceiling, which I think it's actually been made worse because Rafinha's there, because people draw similarities with them and where Harrison could be, you know, in comparison.
Yeah, I think they're very different players, though. They offer very different things. And like Harrison's like dynamism and drive, and like you say, his defensive capabilities are so important to us. And his delivery into the box has got better and better like every season. And like there are a lot, like with Harrison, he often puts in 3 or 4 deadly balls a game that there isn't a runner for. You know, like that they happen all the time. His chance creation stats, like they are worth mentioning, that he is up there with like De Bruyne and Bruno Fernandes. If you look at like the stats in terms of the amount he's created this season, so yeah, like I know what you mean. His if he could finish, then you know I think he'd be a £60 million player.
That's it. I mean, it's the expectation, isn't it? I don't know why I think of him. I think it's because I look at Harrison. I think there's so much ability there. You know what I mean?
It really is, but we're getting more and more of it every year, and he's made another big step up. Is the thing, you know? He's it's another big leap. He's playing against a higher standard again. He's quite in the top tier, but I'd put him in the tier below that. I think he's had a really good season.
Yeah, we'll stick him in good season then. Next up is Calvin.
So it's an interesting one, Calvin. Like,
yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I put him in and I was thinking, you know what? Like, I don't know. But no, I don't really know.
In half of the game, but the thing is, like, I think the realistic thing with it is we expect so much from him now. Like, and it's expectations again, isn't it? We expect him to always be our best player on the pitch, and he has been for about half of our games. And I think if you look at how we are without him, that shows you how much he adds. I think he's still incredibly important to us. I think the game against Everton is possibly the best performance I've seen from a midfielder forever. You know,
for Leeds probably since like 2000, 2001.
You're going back to like Lee Bowyer. Since I've seen like in the Champions League, since I've seen like a performance that good. I still think he's absolutely brilliant. He's been wonderful for us, but you know, a little bit in and out of the side, so it's been harder to get that full momentum.
Right, okay, we'll stick him there then. So next up is you, Matthias Klick.
Klick's one. I'm going to stand up for Klick here. I think he's been getting a lot of grief unfairly sometimes from our fans, because I think a lot of the stuff he does really well is exactly. It's not like, look, his finishing is terrible. His shooting's been all over. He shoots like a James Bond villain, doesn't he? It's just all over the shot. But in terms of like the drive through the center of the pitch, in terms of his defensive output, his work rate, his positioning, he's always available for a pass, and his range of passing is incredible.
I think he's tailed off a little bit in the past.
A little, but like you've got there's a load of factors underneath it. I think, like, you know, he's not had a break for fucking 3 years. You know, yeah, and like he's playing on this awful waterlogged pitch at Ellen Road. He's you know, and again, like Rodrigo next to him, he's not struggling, but he's not quite playing the same role as like Hernandez did last season. So yeah, I think there's reasons for why sometimes he doesn't look as great as he is. Look, like in the Man U game, those first 2 goals are his fault. The first 2 minutes is both his man getting beat. So you know, he's not been perfect, but I think he's been really good. And again, we've got to qualify all of our judgments in the fact that we are stepping up into the Premier League. It's our first season. Well, I'll judge this team very differently next year. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
very good. In terms of not being able to see him as much, it's Robin. Now, I personally wouldn't put him top tier. Second tier it's a difficult one because he's not played as many games. I think he did well. I would also say that there were a fair few mistakes in his first sort of calendar, really, in this Leeds United side, and he's adapting. We know all those underlying factors, but I would cancel out him going in to sort of the top 2 straight away. Is that negative of me? Is that?
I don't think it's negative, right? I don't think. But I would maybe put him in the second top tier because I think when he has played, he's looked really good, and like we clearly can see, what he gives us. I think his technical ability is great. He's got a bit more physique, and like the things that like really counted against him at the start, he was so unlucky with so many decisions for like penalties and stuff that were like spurious. They kept happening.
And centre-back partners as well.
Constantly changing partners in a new country, in the weirdest time to move countries that there possibly could be. It's
a child as well, isn't he?
Exactly. So like all those factors combining, I think what I've seen of him, I think has been really, really encouraging. So yeah, I think it's hard to say on this season that it's been incredible because he's been out for a lot of it. But I think he's been a really good addition. I think like in order to we're never going to replace Ben White. We saw it at the weekend how bloody brilliant he still is, and I would give my right arm to have Ben White back at Leeds. Yeah. But I think as a replacement, big shoes to fill. I think Robin's been really good.
We'll stick him in very good.
I think, with given the game time he's had, I think it's been very good.
Yeah. I'm not going to touch on Llorente. Don't think there's any point.
We've seen one game from him against Chelsea. What can we judge?
Exactly. Jan Poveda. Now, there's a lot of hype around Poveda, which is sort of a good thing. I think he's been brought on in most games or every other game. I know he's quick. Is he providing enough? Sort of no goals, no assists when he comes onto the pitch. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think in general, like he hasn't had whilst he's had a fair few games he's come on, it's always 5-10 minutes in weird situations. So I think like his best performance for me of the season was against City when he came on.
Yeah.
He Mendy just absolute nightmares when he came on. It was just completely going at him. He's clearly a player he knows very well and knows how to get round.
Yeah.
But I think he's clearly got so much potential, hasn't he? He's so skillful, so good with the ball at his feet. He's very small and very easy to knock off the ball.
When he comes on, you think to yourself, like, if he's coming up against Dan Burn, let's say, against Brighton, it's like, no one can compete with that guy.
Seeing him stood next to Brighton centre-backs was absurd. It was like, it looked like they were off to a volcano to get rid of a ring.
My favourite player, the best player in an attacking sense I've seen at Leeds in a long, long time, Rafinha.
You are such a little Rafinha fanboy, aren't you?
I love him. I think he's class.
He's absolute sauce, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just world class. He's world, like everything about him, how he goes at players, how he gets narked off when he's not got a chance. He's aggressive.
I love how much of an aggy git he is. Clearly he's just furious all the time, isn't he? Like he's just one of them. He's like Ronaldinho's evil twin that's been locked in the attic.
But what a find! What a find!
And big up to Victor Orta for that, because Bielsa said it wasn't a player that was on his radar. Like it was one that Orta brought to him, and he was like, "Oh right, yeah, no, that one, he's good." There was in a press conference. Bielsa literally said that he was like, "I hadn't been watching him. I watched some games of him, and he has all the attributes, which for Bielsa is the most glowing you can possibly get." Yeah, I think he's clearly so good, and he's just cool, isn't he? He's just cool.
Yeah.
Super exciting, and has had a immediate impact.
I think his stats back it up as well. I think he's got 2 or 3 assists. He's got 2 goals as well.
Yeah, great goals.
Impact.
And he's got all the same qualifications as everyone else does as well. He's come into the club at an incredibly weird time. He's had to move countries during all this, but his mentality is clearly like iron will, just focused on that, and that is the thing that separates people and makes them great. So I think the only slight things I'd say against him is sometimes his positioning from the front's not quite right in the Bielsa system. Sometimes he gets beaten in the press, But he's learning that and he's applying himself to that. And he's clear, he's not like stood around as a passenger. He's putting the work in and he will get those little fine tunings and those little fine timings. We've seen it takes a while for that to bed in because we're so highly choreographed in a lot of our attacking movement.
Yeah.
So he's just going to get better and better. Clearly has all the ability in the world, and the impact he's made is just, you can't say enough good things, can you?
That goal against West Brom. Oh, it's just sheer class. So good.
Yeah, it's just one of those. He just makes me make that face about 4 times a game. I'm just like,
it's like at the weekend when I know why Bielsa did it for a defensive reason, putting Harrison on that side. But when he did that, I saw the lineup. I was like, it's not going to work because Rafinha is just so dangerous on that other side. And
I love it.
Is he going to go in class?
Oh, yeah, he's going in the top tier. One thing I want to say on Rafinha, though, how exciting is it going to be when we get Allin back to right back supporting him down that flank? When Aylin's going out the outside of him and gives him that space to come inside.
How many games did they play together with that partnership? Have they done that?
Not we will have done, but like not that many, which he's been having to fill in elsewhere, hasn't he? But yeah, Rafinha, right, put him in the top tier, definitely. In terms of a signing, coming in and making an impact, what more can you say?
Tyler Roberts.
Yeah, like I would have had a very different conversation with you before the Brighton game. I think like in the Brighton game, we saw what Tyler Roberts can do, and it sort of felt like him coming back to his old self a bit, just that energy.
See more of it, don't we? Like when he comes on.
Yeah, well, I think, again, dealing with a lot of injuries, in and out, like not getting much game time. I think like there was a couple of games where he got a chance and he just felt like he rushed things a lot. It wasn't quite there for him, wasn't quite happening. But we saw against Brighton what he can offer and how good he can be. He's also a very good finisher. Like, if you remember.
I think he's going to be, what he showed at the weekend was when teams camp in against Leeds, you naturally Rodrigo isn't direct really. I think he gives it out wide, lets the wingers do the job, has a bit of intricacy, and clicks very like that as well. With Roberts, he'll pick up the ball and run at the defence, which is how obviously you create space for people like Bamford.
Yeah. This is it. And like he's again another really young player. Like because we've had him for a few years, and because he's a big strong lad. Like we kind of forget how young he is.
We'll stick him in average then.
I'll sneak him into average for the Brighton game because I'm feeling generous.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Rodrigo.
Now, again, this is another like interesting one in that clearly he's class, isn't he? Like you see just some things from him where he's just like, oh, that's just another level. Like his technical ability is clearly brilliant. He's got loads of strings to his bow. I don't think he's quite hit his full rhythm yet. He's not quite. We've not quite seen the best out of him, and our expectations were huge for him. Obviously, Spain's number 9 coming in, all this. So yeah, I think in general he's still got to be our first choice in that position. He's learning it and he's settling, and we're seeing a lot of that from him.
Bob, if we play in this formation, which I think we will going forward, we were looking at Mickey Cuison's coming in, a press-resistant midfielder. I don't think we've got any press-resistant midfielders right now. Would you look at who comes out if a player like that comes in the summer, or do you think it's going to stay? You're talking about longevity with Rodrigo in that role. Do you think he's going to stay in that role?
Probably. I don't know. It depends who comes in and what sort of profile of player we get. Like, I think the reason the Bielsa likes Rodrigo is because he's so versatile. He can play pretty much anywhere across the front line and in the attacking midfield spaces. So he will be another player that will play multiple roles. It's not like, we're not like a normal team where it's like, that's that player's position, that's where they stay. It's which 3 positions can that player play in. So like, because of his versatility, I think he'll have a good future for us. I really hope he kicks in because, it seems like, again, there's another one who seems like a great bloke and, can't really fault his effort for anything. He will be continuing to play there for the foreseeable because Pablo doesn't have the legs to play the full 90, and there's only really Tyler Roberts in our squad. Who else, you might play there?
So for now, are we going to stick him in average because we've not seen it yet?
Yeah, I think so because he's not been bad. He's certainly not been bad, and he's had some games where he's been really good. But for that caliber of player and how much ability he has, you would want to see a bit more from him. I think so. Yeah, I think average is fair.
We'll go strike, and I think he's our future centre back. I think he's going to be elite. I think he's that good. I think when you put in the defensive midfield role, it's difficult for him because, like you've said, we're judging him on Calvin, which is it's difficult because I think Pascal could play there.
Yeah, and I think he will eventually be able to.
Yeah,
to the same stand. Maybe not the same, but like he might be more of a Declan Ricey sort of defensive mid.
I mean, but everyone in the youth products reckons that apparently if they're looking at someone left foot, right foot to hit a postage stamp to be able to put a ball on someone's feet, sort of, left or right foot, it is Struijk. And
you remember that through ball he played against Derby and that dead rubber at the end of last season when our team was all hungover? He played a through ball that I swore to having around me Pablo Hernandez had played. Like, Struij's got all the tools to do that. So I think for the amount of games he's played, how young he is and how well he's coped and adapted, I can't say enough good things. I think he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know if we can quite put him in the top tier with performance. I'd like to, and I think he will be. I think he's just slightly below that because that top tier is players who've been exceptional. He's been really, really good, but he's not been the top tier.
Allin,
we might have to make a new category just for Luke. Honestly,
up there, are you?
I think he's been our best player this season. I literally cannot think of another thing Luke Allin could have done this season. I think he's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We'll stick him in class. Bamford to finish it on. I think is that Bamford to finish it on. I think it is.
We might have missed someone. People will let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Bamford's another one where, look, I think we all had the same doubts going into the season. I think, look, I have always been a big fan of Patrick Bamford. I've been a big defender of his and always, said how much he offers to the team and how much he adds. But this season, he has added. His movement has got even better. It's so smart, his movement around the box now. And his little darting runs to get himself space. And to score 10 already is so far beyond what we could have had. He's in a golden boot race with a promoted team,
Got to be in class.
Got to be. How could he not be? He's it's just so good to see. Well done, Patrick Bamford.
If you're watching.
Yeah.
We'll stick him in class. And Pablo Hernandez.
Yes, right now this is an interesting one, because Pablo's not quite hit the heights, has he, this season?
Nowhere near.
No, I don't think we can say. Look, he hasn't had the sort of season we hope from Pablo, and to be honest, I feel like it might be. It's winding down now for Pablo. He is going to be 10 minutes here and there.
I always think when he comes on, he gives us a bit of a spark, and he'll always try to go forward, which I'll always love Pablo for. But I agree with you about the Rodrigo thing. He cannot start a game because it's not only is it the level that's gone up, but it's the athleticism of people like Ndombele, Anguissa, players like Kante and Mendy and Ndidi, Ben White even. He's
still got the brain speed. He's still got that incredible footballing brain, and his vision's still incredible, but it's just not quite come off for him so far. And I think that's a lack of cohesion. But yeah, the pace around him and just in terms of running, just don't think he can quite keep up with it now. But all-time legend, love him forever, but this season's not quite been the one for him.
No, I think we'll be kind because we love him and we'll put him in average.
Yeah, I can't even look. Pablo Hernandez could score 15 own goals and I wouldn't be able to put him below that.
Yeah, I mean that goal against Swansea, it'll be in legendary status forever and ever.
Yeah, that's one of the iconic Leeds United goals, forever. So yeah.
Rob, thank you so much for joining, mate.
Pleasure, man.
Yeah, and we'll do a video soon again. And guys, we will catch you in a bit. Cheers.